I know it's close to 8 o'clock, but we are here to continue the worship, right? Listening to the scriptures I just mentioned yesterday is part of worship, right? Preaching is part of worship. So let's, go to the scriptures. Actually, some of them were already read. Let's go to Matthew chapter 21. Verse 1 to 5, we will read not the whole thing, but we already read from chapter 21st 1 to 9 or 11, I guess, yes. But we will read now Matthew chapter 21, verses 1 to 5. I will read it for all of you. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there, with her colt by her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, say that the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away." This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. "Say to the daughter Zion, see, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." Right? We read this also from, Zechariah 9 as well. I will bring that up later on. So, we had prayed many times in this service today. Like I said, it's already 8 o'clock, close to. So let's quickly go forward. So I just want to tell you, how many of you actually know World War II stories? Right? Yeah, some of us know. So during World War II, there was a lot of, devastation that you can imagine, like worse than what you see on the television about Gaza, right? Or, Pokrovsk, or, Kursk, or anything happening in, right now in, between Russia and the other country, right? So the situation was so bad that so many children were left orphaned because their parents died. Or, father went to war and he died. Mother was running from the bombing and she died, and the children were left on the streets. So there were so many orphanages opened, and some orphanages were also left just like that without any supervision. Even kids just died, desperately destitute. And but in some orphanages, they managed to save some children. And the problem was this: children would not go to sleep because they have starved, they've been hungry. So when they saw food, it was like everything for them. They would just grab it and eat, but they would not go back to sleep thinking tomorrow they might not have food. It got into their heads. So when something gets into your head, what happens is it will actually impact you in such a way, your behavior is changed, right? I will tell you, you do certain things because you had experiences in the past and you behave that way, right? So these children would not go to sleep. So some of the people started thinking, how can we deal with this? So the doctors said they have a kind of, anxiety, right? There is no peace in their heart. They're thinking about something they finally figured out. If you give a slice of bread, the kids would hold and play with it, thinking they have bread for tomorrow, and fall asleep. They were thinking, okay, we ate now and we have bread for tomorrow. So that was their, thinking at that moment. They were thinking, okay, we don't have to worry about tomorrow. Right? So when you actually look at life of Jesus, the first, instant of his, the birth years, birth narratives talk, maybe when he was born or after 2 years up to, right? And after that, we don't hear anything up to 30 years. Can you go to the next? Yes. Next slide, Vita. Yes. For the first 30 years, life of Jesus was largely ignored, right? In the last 3 years, where, all the action-packed, 3 years happened, we hear so much about his ministry. And then we see the last week, which the world is celebrating, right, on this day, when there was a Palm Sunday, that was the last week. People call it the Passion Week, right? And that week brings us to the doorstep of, unimaginable things happen all through this week. So that's where we are at. I mean, people who actually believe in Passion Week and, passionate about it, for them it is very auspicious or very important or very, holy week. So after 11 o'clock, as we were going home last night, my children, one of them was saying, oh, tomorrow is a Palm Sunday. It's very important. And they were looking at me, and then they were expecting me to be, being like that. I said, for me, it's just like any other Sunday. They were like, oh. And then I said, yeah, for me, it doesn't make a difference, because once you are saved and you know the Lord is your Savior, you are at peace. Right? You are at peace because you know your Savior reigns, so you can face tomorrow. Right? I always sing this song, because you live, I can face tomorrow. Right? These little children with the slice of bread fell asleep because they had consolation for tomorrow. They had no, anxiety for tomorrow. They had peace for tomorrow. So they fell asleep peacefully. Today morning, this lady here, you guys don't know, she can't hear. You know that? Kishma cannot hear. How many of you know that? Right? But she wanted to go with us for outreach. After we had 11 to 1 o'clock service here, I took a team and she came with me to the mall. And, before I got out of my car, I just prayed with my kids. And then, the Lord helped me. I had to, talk to a Muslim boy and, lead him to the Lord. After that, as I'm walking out of the mall, then I had to talk to another boy who was a Christian and not anymore walking with the Lord. So I was talking to Vipin. Vipin was here. How many of you know Vipin? Some of you know, right? Yes. Vipin and his wife were with me. So I introduced them to, him. I said, take numbers, exchange numbers, so we could talk to this man after. And then when we came back, I did not expect Kishma to be here. Me being a pastor, right, you expect me to be here, right? Because, I'm called to minister. So you could think, okay, I went to the church in the morning, after I went to the, evangelism outside, and after that I came back, but I didn't expect to see her. But I see her here. That tells, how committed she is to preach this good news of peace. Why I'm touching base upon peace again and again is, we see Matthew paints a picture of, the prophecy that was given by Zechariah is being fulfilled. Right? The king is coming to Jerusalem in humility, yet with proper dignity. Right? He's coming with humility, but with proper dignity. At the same time, he's not coming on a horse, right? This was a challenge for me when I became a Christian, because I don't know how you guys were thinking, but for me, even for Rajdeep, for us, somebody who's a Rakhwala is a hero, right? He should be, with big, muscles, or, big magic, has to do something great. लेकिन जीसस का बात जब हम सोचते हैं, ये तो कुछ नजर नहीं आता. So I used to think, this doesn't look right. What these people are talking about Jesus for me, right? Because I didn't understand what's happening. After I become a Christian, it makes sense to me. But before, I used to think, ये तो क्या है? खलनायक जैसा मर गया सालिब चढ़ के, right? This is what my thinking. I'm just telling you. You understand, right? For us in the movies, we see the hero plays, big role. He fights and he kills everybody. He does all this. So as a boy, I grew up with that mentality. I'm like, okay, when you think about all Hindu mythology, you see all these gods are just killing and slaying down all these, giants and, rakshas, we say, right? But in Jesus' case, it's almost like he's dying, right? So we see here, what is happening here? He is not coming on the horse as a conquering general, right? He's not coming as a conquering general, but he comes as Prince of Peace on this, foal of colt, like, ass. So many of them, actually do not understand this. So for me, why did he do that? Right? Why it is like that? Carson says, can we go to the next slide, Vita? Yes. So I just wanted to show you guys what, Carson, D.A. Carson, he's a New Testament, professor. He says, therefore, for those with eyes to see, Jesus was not only proclaiming his messiahship and his fulfillment of the scriptures, but showing the kind of peace-loving approach he was now, making to the city. So he's displaying to the city what kind of king he is, right? Then we see, can you go to the next slide? It says, then we see Clark. He says that the entry into Jerusalem has been termed the triumphal of Christ, like triumphal entry, right? It was indeed the triumph of humility over pride and worldly grandeur. It is a triumph of, humility of Jesus over pride and grandeur. And then he says of the poverty over affluence and meekness and gentleness over rage and malice. It's wonderful the way Clark put it, to be frank with you. So Jesus is actually proving to the world the other way around. Yesterday we were talking about, the leadership that we want. We want serving leaders, servant leaders. Not just because you stand up here, you're something different or greater than somebody who's sitting there. Right? That's what Jesus is doing exactly. Right? That's what he's doing actually. So in this process, let's look to the first point. It says Christ is, claiming his rightful place as a prophesied Messiah. Right? I get a lot of feedback from this room, David. Yeah, but that's okay. Well, that's okay. So Zechariah wrote, our David actually was mentioning to us during the worship, in Zechariah 9:9, he wrote, behold, your king comes to you, triumphant and victorious. He is humbled and riding on ass, on a colt, the foal of an ass. So you have to note that he's coming to you. I don't know how you expected him to come, right? I expected him to be more than Salman Khan when I was young, right? But I saw somebody who's on the cross, right? That's a different story. But whom you are expecting? Because the disciples expected somebody who would come and deliver them from the Romans, right? In fact, I was reading what Philip Yancey writes about this triumphal entry, and he narrates it, and he says, when a Roman soldier actually came to see what is happening, why all these people are here, right? When he saw that, he noticed something different. In Roman culture, if somebody is entering as a conquering king, what happens is a conquering general, when he comes from abroad after his conquest, there will be a big iron chariot with, nicely, polished brass wheels, shining because of the sun is just reflecting on them, and nicely dressed up, this, horses pulling this chariot, and he stands on this, and then there is a lot of soldiers dressed up well, follow him behind them. All those people they have, conquered, they brought these people as slaves, chained, and they will follow them, like, Solon and walking behind them. So they got used to this. So when a soldier looks at this, Jesus was like very insignificant, coming just very meekly on this, small donkey. Why was that? Why was that? We will look into that, right? Every Jew knew that what Zechariah said about, the coming king. Every Jew knew this, right? So they said, Hosanna, right? Save us now, like she already said, right? And they said, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. So Jesus was the true Davidic Messiah, right? So they all knew. So the common people, they knew what is happening, what Jesus is doing. And then go to the next slide, we'll see the second thing here. Jesus rode on a donkey to symbolize peace. Right? Like I said, why did he rode on this, donkey? Why not on the war horse? Like in Revelation, we see he comes on a horse, right? He comes to wage the war. Why he did not do that? Mark Boda explains, he says that, in Middle Eastern culture, leaders rode horses when they actually came to war, right? If they come on the horse, meaning they're coming for the war. They're declaring war when they're on the horse. They're coming as conquering generals, or to conquer you, they're coming. But when they come, but the donkey, if they come for peace. We can see that in 1 Kings chapter 1, 33. What does it say? Solomon rides on a donkey on the day he was coronated as a king of Israel. Right? You can also see in Judges 5:10 and 10:4, 12:14, and 2 Samuel 16:2, we will see this, right? Happens again and again. When they come in peace, they come on a donkey or a mule. The mention of donkey in Zechariah 9 we already saw, and if you see, continue verse 10, you will see why this donkey is important. Right? The description of the king who would be a righteous and brings salvation and gentleness, would come to not ride on a horse like a conqueror, but to bring peace to you and me. In Zechariah 9:10 it says, it highlights this peace. I will take away the chariots of Ephraim and the war horses from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be broken. He will proclaim peace to the nations. His rule will extend from sea to sea, from the river to the ends of the earth. We're all in Canada. If you go to Parliament building, this is the exact words inscribed on Parliament buildings. These are the exact words. Says, he shall have dominion from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the earth. And that should be our cry for this nation as we are at the cusp of new elections, right? But leaving that aside, let's get back to what we were talking, right? Note the details here. It's saying he will take away the chariots. Why? Because he wants to end the war. Right? The chariot is a symbol of strength of man who would like to conquer others. Right? And Jesus wants to take that away so that there will be peace. So, there will be end to the main vehicle of war. And then take away the war horses. So there is no need for horses to be used in the war. And then it says the battle bow will be broken. Meaning there is no need for bow and arrow to fight with each other. When you know him, your enemy becomes your brother, because Bible says you even pray for your enemies, not just love your neighbor. You also pray for your enemies. On that note, can I ask, how many of you praying for your enemies? Then he says, we will proclaim. He will proclaim the peace to the nations. His message will be one of reconciliation. Right? His rule shall be from sea to sea. The king will control the territory in its entirety, meaning one sea to another sea. Right? Jesus fulfilled all this, what Zechariah said. Jesus fulfilled all of it. So he comes on that donkey. So now you know. Right? Why he's coming on the donkey? Because in that culture, if you come on a horse, you are coming for war. You are coming to conquer. You are coming to declare war. So Jesus fulfills the predictions of Zechariah. When we go to the next slide, we see, right? In Old Testament, we see the emissaries were sent, donkeys overloaded with gifts to appease the wrath of enemy, preventing the bloodshed or preventing war. Right? We see that Jacob sends donkeys packed with a lot of gifts for his brother Esau. Right? Because he wants to appease Esau. So he sends, donkeys loaded with, gifts. We see that in Genesis 3:8. And then we see in 1 Samuel 25:26, what happens? Abigail wants to save herself and her family, and, because of foolishness of Nabal, she pleads David. She says, please, spare us. And now, my Lord, this is what she says, as surely as the Lord your God lives, and as you live, since the Lord has kept you from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands. May your enemies and all who are intent on harming my Lord be like Nabal. Because of her, words, she won over David. But before that, what she did was she sent donkeys loaded with food and items, of gifts, so she could actually appease David. So like I said, Jacob wanted to appease Esau. Abigail wanted to appease David. Jesus wanted to appease God against you and me. You might say, I have nothing, Pastor Garu. Let me tell you, Bible says, if you say you have no sin, you are, a liar. None of us can claim that we are 100% pure. Right? మనుషులందరూ పాపం చేసి దేవుడు అనుగ్రహించేటువంటి ఆ కృప నుంచి మనం దూరం అయితేనే ఉంటాం ప్రతి దినం ప్రతి క్షణం. Right? Every thought we actually think of the flesh, of the world, of our own desires takes us away from the kingdom and the king. But here comes the king, so he could actually bridge between you and God. He can make this peace between you and God, so you have peace. That is why he comes on that donkey. In Psalm 16:10, I think I have it there, you can see, right? For you will not be abandoned my soul to Sheol, nor will you let your Holy One see corruption. So this is a prophecy about Jesus' death. But before that, you will see on top, right? In Isaiah 9:6, we see about his birth. In that prophecy also, they mention that he is the Prince of Peace. So all the prophecies that are prophesied about him, including Zechariah 9:9, were fulfilled. Meaning, the prophecies that are prophesied about his coming will 100% will be fulfilled. Can you repeat? It will be fulfilled. Can you say he is coming? Right? Can you say he is? He is coming. Let me prove it to you, okay? Can we go to the next slide? Let me prove it to you. So there is a professor, right? I think last year I brought this up. Aaron would remember this, right? So today I just want to bring it again to your, memory. Peter Stoner. You can actually Google. Those who want always Google. Those who go to Google, you can Google about this guy. So he hired researchers from different universities in U.S. Right? They're all top-notch mathematicians. Right? By the way, can anybody say what is this number on the screen? No? Yeah, you can tell me in the dinner time. Okay? I'll give you that much time. So they said, they came up after all this research, right? Peter Stoner's research found that all the prophecies that were said about Jesus, the probability is like 10 to 17, right? 10 to the power of 17 times chance to be fulfilled. But every single one of them being fulfilled. So our Bible is not book of stories. This is not like Ramayana, Bharatam, Bhagavatam. Got it? I will tell you the truth. I'm a very expensive guy. I don't have to spend so much time taking to prepare and, teaching you, because I believe and I know for sure, I have experienced it in my life, this book is real. Even this week, God has proved it to me on a highway. Right? Me and my wife, I will not tell you the whole story, but we both were arguing for something, and then we took an exit and just got onto the south of 404. We're coming, and then Lord speaks to us, give thanks. You know what? You might think he's just making it up, but let me tell you, a car pulls over us. You know what the plate says? Give thanks. You might say this is a coincidence. No, it is not coincidence. Because just before that, we got a call from somebody whom we were actually, talking about something, and we wanted something, and they don't want to do that, but they agreed to do it. So me and my wife, we shut our mouth, and we just turned back, and we just gave thanks to the Lord. So what I'm trying to say here is, I was telling to one young lady, I will not say that, we, when become Christians, we did not go to the doctor when we become sick. I'm not telling you to be fanatic and not to go to the doctor, okay? But we trusted in God. Like Bible says, if anybody is sick, just, call the elders in the church, and then what they do? They anoint you and pray for you. That's what we did. Right? After, coming to North America, we altered our ways. We could say maybe up to some extent, and maybe adulterated our ways. But, I'm not telling you to be foolish, not to go to the doctors. Please, okay, don't misquote me. But give faith a chance. Right? So what I'm trying to say is whatever is written in this book is not, story. Right? This world is trying to do that. They're trying to discard Bible. They're trying to, prove that this is a hate literature. But let me tell you, it is not hate literature. Right? My daughter came and she asked me, Dad, in our school people ask, okay, God told, you kill the Hittites, this side, that side, what is that? Then I asked her a straightforward question. Okay, that's true, yes. So they're saying our God is like, warmonger. I said, okay. But after that, what does it say? He says, don't get intermarried with these people. I said, how is that possible if they were all killed? ఏమండి నేను చెప్పింది కరెక్టా కాదా? Right? Yes. He says it is written, but was that really taken? So this is why it is very important to understand the culture when they said something, right? In our culture, when Manatta meets Manaludu, says, "Hey, నీకు లెంపకాయ కొడతానురా," right? It's normal, right? It's just like a love banter. That's what we say, right? ఏదో ఏంటంటే మేనత్త మేనలుడి మధ్యన జరిగేటువంటి మాటలు అవన్నీ. But you say this here, they'll say, oh, why is he talking like that? That is very abusive. Because in this culture, it is understood in a different way. Right? So, going back again. So, don't give in to, the new age way of thinking of this culture. So, that's where I was going. Can you go back, Nana, 1 minute? Yeah. So, Peter Stonard finds that the prophecies, the chance of happening anything is like 10 to the power of 17 times. Right? But several prophecies came true up to the dot and the tittle. So, there is no way that is a coincidence. You can say what happened to me is coincidence, but you can't say this is coincidence. And this is proven by, scientifically studied, universities all over USA. So, going to the next slide. Yes, he has come. He has come to bring peace. So what? This is where the rubber hits the road. Right? He is the Prince of Peace who wants to bring blessings to you. But you've been so stubborn in certain areas of your life and you're not accepting. He is coming as an emissary of peace between you and the Father. He's asking you to follow him. And we need to surrender our lives to him. But we are not surrendering. Right? When you argue with your friends or when you argue with your spouse, You know what you have to do. Nobody has to teach you. No pastor can, ever teach you, because you know what is right to do and you don't want to do it. Because you want your flesh to win against your spouse or against your friend or against your children. We need to surrender our lives to the King. Right? We need to surrender our lives 100% to our King. This quote I really love. The guy, his name is Jim Elliot. He went to, South America as a missionary, right? Ecuador, yes. And he was killed, right? But his wife still went back as a missionary to the same place, to the same tribal people. He said, he says, he is no fool who gives what he cannot keep it to gain what he cannot lose. Let it sink in, guys. Let it sink in. Right? He's saying, he is no fool who gives what he cannot keep it to gain what he cannot lose. You cannot lose his kingdom, right? So for that, you will have to understand, for this world you might look like a fool when you give your life, but you are not a fool, because this life is very temporary. This world is not our home. So this generation will look back and clap back to you, and they will try to, bring compromise to your life. It's okay. Once in a while you can do this. Right? It's okay. We don't have to be religious fanatics. I'll be honest with you, for a lot of Telugu people, I'm a fanatic. But let me tell you, I know exactly what Jim Elliot is saying. All that, we can accumulate in this world will stay here, and you cannot take puchikapulla. Right? You cannot take a small thing with you. Even your hair will not go with you. You use all the shampoos, all the, fragrant, soaps and all that stuff. No, the body will decay here. This generation will try to compromise you. What Jesus has commanded you to do, you better do that. Right? We're not willing to compromise. We're not willing to compromise our reputation with our friends, our families, our generation. This generation will always try to claim your soul. We hear very often that God has planned for us beyond any of our wildest dreams, but I don't know whether you believe it or not. My question is, do you really believe it? Do you believe it? I love that saying, my father has a dream, a great dream, and the dream is about you. But do you actually believe it? That's the question. We have been given a purpose. And the only way to live up to fulfill that purpose is to give God everything we have. Will you do that? So you know why he came on the donkey on the day of, Palm Sunday. He came to bring peace between you and Father. And he wants to offer you that peace. But you've been running away because you have so many reasons, so many excuses. After this course is finished, I will pray more. I will read more. I will commit to Him more. But now, let me just spend some time with my friends and watch, this or do that or play this and do that. Right? I'm not telling you to become a Maharishi, but what I'm telling you is, give into God when He's nudging you, when He's inspiring you. You understand? How does the inspiration works? Oh, He tells you when you are sitting, with the remote, He says, enough you watch, Stephen. It's time for you to go read the Bible. Or it's time for you to pray for so-and-so sister, or your needs, your son, your brother, your father, your mother, तेरा भाई, तेरा बहन, और जो कुछ हो रहा है तेरा दिल में, ये सारी चीजों के लिए दुआ करने के लिए ये अच्छा समय है. लेकिन हम बोलते हैं, प्रभु मैं ये मूवी देख रहा हूँ, बाद में करूँगा. Right? We need to learn to surrender ourselves. We need to surrender ourselves 100%. Come guys, you can come now. Let's all stand. Let's all close our eyes as the worship team comes, as they sing these songs. I do not have to come and ask you and, just tell you, you know what? You have this, you have that. No, you know it in your heart. You know it in your mind. You know it. Let's all stand. Let's all close our eyes. Let's all listen to this song. As we sing, let's examine our hearts. Yes, Lord, on this Palm Sunday, here I am.